Welcome to another edition of the TSS podcast, brought to you in association with Luke 1977 and Bowden and Dolphin, with your hosts Rob Careless from Bob's Books and the legend that is Shaun Teale. He's here, there, and everywhere, and he's Tealey saying something.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the TSS podcast. You all know the abbreviation by now. It is the Teale Saying Something podcast. This is where myself and the legend that is Shaun Teale, we did a book together about 3 years ago, and we got on so well that we decided that we'd do monologues as well as doing the prose and the books and all that kind of stuff. So here we are. We are coming into our third year, guys, of doing this, which is absolutely brilliant. Just before we go any further, a big thank you to our sponsors, Luke 1977, and of course the ever so brilliant Bowden and Dolphin Signs as well, who keep everything going for us. So, Mr. Teale, how are you tonight?
I'm very good, Rob. Busy time of the year for you, this, isn't it?
Oh, because I've got a white beard. Is that what it is? Right, okay. I must remember that joke because it's never been said to me before. But you've been dying to say that. You've been dying to say that all day, haven't you?
You've been dying to say that for the last 6 months.
It's actually dark beard, but it's just the lighting in this room. Okay.
Yeah, of course it is.
And my hair was jet black until I started working with you. And now look at it. Surprised it hasn't fallen out, but there you go. So, Shaun, what a few weeks for our favourite football club. Then let's talk about it. First and foremost, have you been down Villa Park? I think you have been in your ambassadorial role.
Of course. I don't miss a game. I never miss a game.
I think you've missed one in about 2 seasons, haven't you? 1 or 2.
I think I missed one last year because I was away, and that was a European night. So, as in Premier League games, I don't think I've missed for years now.
When you say away, do you mean that you paid for a holiday or something like that?
No, I was in Spain at the brother-in-law's.
Oh, right. So what you're talking about is your free holidays. I thought as much. Yeah, I thought as much. So let's talk about Villa then. When we started this season's podcast, those first couple that we did, bottom 3, played for 6 games, gone out the League Cup, scored 1 goal and got 2 points. 11 games later, we've won 10 and lost the 1-2 to Liverpool. And we are in the top 3, but we're not just in the top 3. There's now a bit of daylight between the clubs that are in 4th, 5th, 6th and so forth. What's your opinion, Shaun, of what's been going on? Because it's been absolutely brilliant, hasn't it?
I suppose it's really difficult unless you're within the camp to put your finger on it. But obviously, them first 4 or 5 games, we were poor. We looked like we had no energy. We didn't look that interested, and it was like we were going through the motions. And then all of a sudden, we get the 1 win, and we're flying, and we just look like a total. I mean, we give teams 2-goal leads now and still batter them. So. Going to West Ham and going 1 down and 2-1 down is difficult to come back from. But I thought second half we were outstanding. I thought we just controlled the whole game. And 2 great finishes from Morgan Rogers, who I have to say was very poor at the start of the season. But he looks like he's certainly back to his best now.
Why do you think he was poor at the start of the season? And you can really go back to the tail end of last season as well, when he wasn't playing as well. He just got into the England team with his mates. So, and he's now started to take that number 10 role on his own. What do you think happened to him? I was speaking to Tom Ross about this a few weeks ago when we did one of our book launches, and he said he started to believe in his own hype. What would be your view on that, Shaun?
I think there's possibly a little bit of that in it, but I just think once you get to a certain level, in the back of your mind, you sort of think, well, it's just going to happen for me. And I think he's found out the hard way that unless you keep working, unless you work hard in training every day, and unless you work hard on the pitch, then it doesn't happen. You fall below your levels, and then people start criticising. And let's face it, no player likes to be criticised ever. You want the fans to love you and adore you. You don't want them, giving you stick and booing you when you make a mistake.
Do you also think? I mean, obviously, you played left side of being a centre back. Do you think that the re-emergence of Pau Torres has made a big difference as well?
Yeah, Pau Torres is a strange one because he lost his place because he lost his form completely. He couldn't pass water, he couldn't defend, and he looked like a fish out of water. And then all of a sudden, Tyrone gets injured. Pau Torres comes in. It's like, again, someone's lit a fire under his backside, and he's thought, I better get a shift on here, otherwise I'm going to be out the door. So, I mean, he's been unbelievable since he's come back. And I have to say, I'd have to give a big mention to Lindelof for standing in the last two games, because he was unbelievably good at the weekend at West Ham. I don't think he gave the ball away once. He was unbelievably good. And to be fair, I was like probably 95 of the Villa fans thinking, why have we brought him in on a free transfer? He's finished. Well, he's proved everybody wrong, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about the free transfers there, and obviously that was done towards I think it was the last day, wasn't it, of the summer transfer window. One thing that I guess is a negative at this moment, if we do have any, is the Harvey Elliott situation. We spoke about this previously on the TSS podcast. It very much looks like he's going back in January. What's your view on that?
I'm just convinced that Unai Emery never wanted him in the first place.
Do you think it's a Monchi thing? We spoke about this before.
Yeah. I think it's come from Monchi brought him in because I think we were panicking at the time. We were short on players. We needed to get players in. The likes of Lindelof came in, Sancho came in, and Harvey Elliott came in. Now, Sancho's had game time, but he hasn't got that clause. So if he plays 10 games, we don't have to pay 35 million. And I think Unai Emery's thought, I've got players that can do that job already. Why do we need to pay another 35 million for someone who's likewise to Tielemans, to McGinn, to a lot of them midfield players, because they can all do the same kind of job. And we've proved that in the last few games because the way he's sort of just shuffled the pack on the pitch and changed it into a different team. So I just think he didn't want him in the first place, and it's just unfortunate on Harvey Elliott. I mean, to be quite honest, I'm surprised Liverpool don't want to grab him back now, simply because they've been struggling and they need players, and they've got injuries as well.
Yeah, are you looking? I mean, we're top three, 5 points above fourth place at this moment, which I think is Chelsea. I am personally looking at what's below us as opposed to what's above us. So I want, if we beat Man United on Sunday, there's a 10-point gap between us and them, and they currently sit in sixth place. I mean, everybody's saying we're in the title race, and, by virtue of the fact that we are in it, and top three and only 3 points from the top of it does dictate that we are in the race. But realistically, I can't see us winning that league, but top four looks very good at this moment in time. Obviously, you can't take anything for granted. This is football. But what's your view on that, Shaun?
You only have to go back to 2016 to Leicester City, don't you?
Yeah.
Nobody gave them a cat and Ellis chance, and as it got closer and closer to the end of the season, people were going to say, "Oh yeah, they'll stumble," and they just didn't. They just kept on winning. So it's never say never, really. Are we in the title race? Yeah, of course we are, because we're 3 points behind Arsenal. Do I think we'll win it? No, probably not. But the more wins we get on the bounce now, and we keep winning games, and we've got some really tough games coming up over the next 4 weeks or so. If we're still in that position after them 4 weeks, then I'd certainly say we should be pretty much nailed on to get Champions League.
Well, here's one for you, Shaun. Just a couple of years before you joined us, our illustrious guest of tonight, and we'll come on to that in a minute, we'll remember it well. But in the 1989-90 season, Villa were in second place in the league. I think actually we were pretty much top in the December period. And over the Christmas time, we played Fergie's Man United, we played Arsenal, who were champions, and we played Chelsea. And that's the three that we've got this season, and we won all three of them. If we do win all three, and I can't see it happening, but I'm really hoping that we do, then I think we are in a really good position to move forward in 2026.
We're in a great position anyway.
Yeah.
And we're playing well. People will say, "Oh, you didn't play that well at West Ham," but you look at our second half performance. We controlled the game really. I thought first half we obviously making the mistake in 29 seconds doesn't help the cause. and then you've got to build your confidence from there. But I just think the way we're playing, going to Basel and not particularly playing well and winning. People always say if you can not play well and win games, you're doing something right. So we're not a million miles off. If we click, we're gonna spank somebody this year.
Yeah, in the same way that we did with Bournemouth,
Mm.
which I think started the second run that we're on now. But you know what's interesting about it all, Sean? You know, we were two down against Brighton. We were one down, 2-1 down against West Ham. I always felt in those two games that we were going to come back
Yeah, yeah,
and
I
and, and,
agree.
and get a result. And
Yeah,
that is
totally
the
agree.
character. And that is the character of the team. One thing that I don't want to happen in January, and obviously, Unai will know this more than any of us, is I don't want to see Martinez go. I
I can't.
really, really don't.
If he is going to go, I wouldn't. I would be very surprised if it came up in January. I'd be really surprised if he went in January. Will he go at the end of the season? Yeah, probably. I think he wanted to go last summer, and it was the blocks were put on it. But I think he was probably told by Une and the rest of them, give us another year, and then we'll let you go.
Yeah, we mentioned Leicester there, and obviously we've got to come down a peg or two from talking about all this top football, and we got to bring our producer into this show as well because it's his studio that we use at the end of it, so we've got to be nice to him as we always are. So, Chris Browne, how are you doing this
I'm
week?
good, yeah, thanks. Yeah, can you hear me? Yep.
I see you've got your Christmas jumper on. It has to be
Yeah, of
blue and white, doesn't it? It
course
just
it's
has to be blue and
traditional
white.
traditional Christmas colours.
I've chucked away all my red tops because I have got a few of them because my daughters say that I'm looking too much like Santa Claus with red and this white beard. So there
You
you
don't
go.
really want to look
Oh, I do love you, really, Sean. Right, just a quick one off you then, Mr. Browne. Right, I still hear it. Chris Davis out. What's your view?
Oh, I haven't heard it at all.
I have. On
Oh, well,
social
you
media,
get
I
it
have.
off of. Oh, yeah, there's a few idiots. Most of them are wind-up merchants, probably from over your side. But no,
Thank you.
I haven't. I'm really not from proper blues fans. No, how
Well,
can
they've
we're,
made a bit of form again, though, haven't they?
we're punching anyway. The plan wasn't. I mean, we're never going to go up this season. I don't think we will.
No,
I had a great.
Mid-table. We're looking at.
Right, just before we bring our guests into tonight's show, just to let you know, when you play QPR, I think it was last week or the week before,
Yeah.
I'd had a nice little five-fold bet. I always do both teams to score in a game because, as the late great Brian Clough always used to say, it only takes a second to score. So that's what I always go on. And I was watching a Champions League game, and it came up that I only needed Birmingham to score against QPR. So I had this very, very strange thing where I actually turned over for your last 10 minutes thinking, score a goal, Birmingham, score a goal. And then my mate phoned me and said, what's it like trying to watch Birmingham score a goal just so you could get a winner? I said, I'd love them to get one and then for QPR to go up and get a winning goal.
It's your fault.
So, yeah, if Colesberg could do Tuesday night football when you've got your hackers on, that would have been the night for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to talk about that, do you?
Not really, no. No.
Right, I mentioned about 5 or 10 minutes ago the 89-90 season, and part of the Villa backroom staff was a physio who came to us in 1987 and stayed with us for a very long time. Is Sean, when we did the book, you were very complimentary to this man. And I'm very pleased to say that he's now done a book with the great journalist that is called Rob Bishop, and it's called Walker's Way. So tonight's guest, and I'm very pleased to say, welcome to the show, Jim Walker.
Thank you.
A man, a few words there.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
I was going to say, don't sound too happy, Jim, for God's sake.
You're all right, mate.
Speaking to Rob.
He's expecting a check off us for this, isn't he? Absolutely, that's what it is. Right, Jim. Why now? Why do a book now? Obviously, you had. We'll go backwards a little bit to your football career. So if we can home in on that first and foremost, where did you start in football? I know that you played for Derby County because I do remember that when you were there in the mid to about 74 or whatever it was. So how did you go from footballer to, working in physio work? Tell us a little bit more about it, Jim.
Well, when I actually finished playing football, I did have an injury and had to retire. And I went out to Kuwait for 2 years with Dave Mackay to do some coaching. And then towards the end of the second year, I realised, no, I didn't want to be a coach. Simple as that, really. And I was always interested in the injury side of football, and I did a degree, and so go on from there, really.
So it was a complete career. I know it was within football still, but it was
No,
a
it's
complete,
football. Yeah,
yeah, complete career change for you to do that. And of course, in the 70s, and you did this in the 80s as well, it would have been a time where no quarters were given.
yeah,
And proper fouls were going in those days, and people
yeah,
were getting away with it, weren't they? So
yeah.
yeah. So who else did you, before we go on to the physio work and who you started that with? What football teams did you turn out for then?
Well, I turned out for the local club, Northwich,
Yep.
and Northwich Victoria, and then
Another one of Tealey's teams.
that's one of his teams, yeah. And then while I was there, Peter Taylor, from Derby, assistant manager, came and watched the match, and I must have done quite well in it, really. So they offered me a 12 a month contract. So I went to Derby for a month, and the second game I was there, I got injured, so I only played 2 games in that month, and so they kept me on till the end of the season, which was April, early May. Yeah, so and at the end of that season, they gave me a 2-year contract. So that was me playing from non-league football to playing in the second division at the time.
That's something that Shaun did as a career, as you know. How did you find the step up from, the brutal world of non-league? And I guess it was a brutal world in the first division in those days. I think you played for Derby around 6 times, didn't you, in the 71-72 season when they were champions?
Yeah, that's right, 6 times. Yeah. Oh, and
Yeah,
I did score a goal, by the way, a winning goal.
you did.
Yeah, against
Okay.
Crystal Palace. So
It
What was it like?
effectively won the title, that did.
yeah, yeah.
What was it like working under Brian Clough?
Fantastic. Yeah. The best man I've ever known in football, really. And
Mm.
yeah, he was top draw. Nowadays, I'm not sure how it goes, how managers go, but Brian Clough knew everything you were doing, what you had for your breakfast, what time you got up in the morning. He knew everything. He had people round about Derby that they would, report back to him if we were doing anything that wasn't quite right.
Aye.
So he's very thorough.
And what was
And
Peter Taylor like?
yeah, so
What
well,
was Peter
Peter
Taylor
always,
like?
yeah, well, Peter, everybody thought Peter was the brains, but I'm sorry, no, he wasn't the brains. Brian Clough was top draw. Yeah.
Okay, so that's interesting. What did Peter Taylor bring to the party then? What was it, just that they were brilliant together?
Yeah, because I think they played together at Middlesbrough. He was a goalkeeper, wasn't he, Peter? And
Yeah.
yeah, they came together and did really well together.
Okay.
They did split up later on in life, but they were, dear me, yeah, really top draw managers.
So tell us how you came to become an employee of Aston Villa then. You joined us just at the end of, I think it was the summer of 87, wasn't it, or something like that.
Yeah,
And we'd just been relegated to the old second division in old money. Graham Taylor comes in. Was it Graham that took you on?
yeah. Steve Harrison was the coach, and I was in Kuwait, and I was coming back from England because I'd done the 2 years that I wanted to do, and so Steve Harrison said to Graham Taylor that Jim Walker would be a good physio, so we went from there, really. So I owe it all to him, really.
And you stayed until, I think, was it until you went to Walsall with
2004, I
Man?
left Philly, yeah.
I bet you've got some great stories in that book. I'm yet to get it.
Oh,
But,
yeah.
I bet you've got some great stories about those times.
Well, it was, great at Derby and great at Villa. I mean, the team most of the time were exceptional, really.
Mm-hmm.
When you think
But
of Teale and McGrath at centre half,
yeah,
the
yeah, absolutely.
then you got, another international. Well, they have 4 internationals at the back. So the top draw,
yeah.
the Villa, yeah.
Yeah, we'll come on to the Teal times at Villa with you in a couple of minutes, and we'll let Shaun ask all the questions instead of
All
me
right,
doing
yeah.
it, which would be nice.
I think
But
he still owes me a fiver.
Oh, you won't get that
you'll
back.
never get that back. It's that fiver's worth about 500,000 now. You know that,
I'd
don't
like
you?
to know what the five is for.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't want to know.
Right, so we've also got another guest on. Before we go into Jim's career at Villa, we've also got another illustrious guest with us. We've had a couple of journalists over the years, and I'm very pleased to say that we can add to our Teale Saying Something Hall of Fame, Bishop. Welcome to the show, Rob.
Thank you, Rob. That's very kind of you. And Shaun, great to see you again.
And you, Rob. Not that I don't see you every week down
No,
at Villa.
every week at Villa. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Apart from the fact that you see each other every other week, you haven't seen each other for years, have you? Basically.
No.
Now, Rob, when we was last together was the 30th anniversary of the '94 League Cup, and you said, "I'm not doing any more books. Mrs. Bishop will
Yeah.
have me hung, drawn, and quartered if I do it."
Good
And
memory. Yeah.
absolutely, I do remember. Um, Chris Browne, just so you know, that was the fourth time that we'd won the League Cup. We don't just go on about the one
Right,
or the
okay.
two that you do.
No. I just can't remember that far back. That was
We've got a few
before
to,
HD, wasn't it?
yeah, we've got a few to look back on with ours, just so you know.
Last century.
Exactly,
I
exactly.
think Chris has headed too many balls in his career.
Right. So Rob, what made you? Obviously, you needed to be something very special for you. Mr. Walker comes along, and
Yes.
you're doing a
Yeah.
book with him. Tell us about the process that you went through on that one, Rob.
Well, initially, I had a call from a lad called Jerry O'Halloran, who also Jim knows very well. And I think it was his idea. He sort of cajoled Jim into doing the book because he'd heard so many stories from him. And Jerry phoned me, and I initially said, because I'd promised my wife, I said, look, I'll try and think of someone else to do it because I don't really want to commit to it. And we're talking now about just about a year ago, last December. And we left it at that. And half an hour later, I called him back. I said, look, Jerry, I'll do it. Because I felt I knew Jim so well, and I owed him so much from the time when I was working for papers, and he used to have been so helpful to me. And because we got on so well, I just felt I've got to go for this and do it. And when I learned as well, also Jim wasn't interested in making anything from it. It's just for dementia charities. I thought, yes, let's do it.
I was going to say that's what really makes this book so special is the fact that it's going to charities down the dementia route. Very, very, very noble cause. I hope the book has been selling well.
It has. We've now the cost we've had obviously is for the publisher, who you know, Stuart Curtis.
I do know very well.
They've now reached break even, so everything from now on goes to the charities.
That's fantastic news. That's absolutely fantastic news. Yes, I know exactly how Mr. Curtis works, as I work with him as well.
Yes, he's a brilliant publisher.
Apart from the fact that he's an Albion fan, but we won't talk about that, Rob, will we? We won't talk. I'm not going to shatter the illusion, so we'll keep that one going. Right. So, where can people buy this book? Is it from Curtis Sport?
That's probably. I mean, Jim has done 1 or 2 signing sessions, and there's another one planned for this weekend. Although I don't know, as I'm saying this, I'm not sure when this will be published. But after the Man United game, there's possibility of a signing session at a local hostelry called the Aston Tavern or the Aston Inn.
Yeah.
But essentially, the best place to get it from for ease is from the Curtis Sport website. Which I think is www.curtis Curtis
I know it
Sport.
off
You
by
know it.
heart.
You
Yeah,
know
I
it.
know it. I know. So if anybody wants to go and buy this book, if you go to Curtis Sport, it's not Curtis Sports with an
No,
S on
just
the end.
sport.
It's Curtis Sport. So if you go Curtis-Sport, you'll be able to see Jim's book on there and all the books that we do under Terrace Tales as well, which is the new company that we've done. It is great to see Jim do this book because he was very, very, very popular with not only the players that he tended to, but with people on the terraces as well. So it really is good to see this book. Right. So in the summer of 1991. Due to the sale of a certain David Platt going to Italy, Villa have got £5 million to spend. So they go out and get some really good players in, players like Kevin Richardson, Daly and Atkinson came in, and a few of the other players as well, Steve Staunton. And then we're looking at the cut price buys, and we went in and bought Sean Teale as well from that.
Pound sterling, wasn't he?
Can I just
Go
put
on.
you straight there, Mr. Careless? The 5 million didn't pay for any of us because we were already at the club. We'd already signed.
Yeah, very true. Absolutely. Did I really write your book?
Yeah.
I should have listened. I should have listened to a bit more of it.
Maybe.
Absolutely. So tell us, Sean, from your point of view then, obviously you're one of the players there. What is your relationship like with Jim? And if you can tell us a few things around Jim Walker, that would be absolutely superb.
To be honest, I think all the lads had a good relationship with Jim. Jim was the go-to person at the club. If you had a problem, you just went to Jim. You didn't really go to Ron or to Jim Barron. You'd go to Jim first and see what he had to say before you made your mind up what you were going to do. I was quite fortunate because I didn't spend that much time on Jim's tables because I very rarely got injured. I spent more time suspended than injured. So, but that was the way it was in them days. So, everybody liked Jim. If you were injured, Jim would treat you, get you in the gym, doing your stuff. He obviously he had one person that was with him every day, and that was Mr. McGrath. So Jim had put him to work in the gym, excuse the pun. And then we'd probably see Paul in the dining room at the end of it all. Sometimes in good health, sometimes a little worse for wear. But that was Paul. And Jim was brilliant with Paul. Jim really did look after Paul. I mean, I can tell a funny story about Germany, my first trip, and we've got it's the trip that Ron went over to Italy to sell David Platt to Barry. So we get to Germany, disappear. Ron goes. Andy Gray's in charge. We go down into the town in the lunchtime. Me and Les Tealey bump into Paul in the corner of a little cafe that sold drink. And Paul sat in the corner of the worst for wear. And it's like, oh no, what did we do? Because both me and Les were brand new to the club. So we didn't really understand, how it worked. So we got Paul back up. We knocked on Jim's door and said, we've got Paul here. He's worse for wear. Right, leave it with me. So, but we were playing head tennis in the afternoon on concrete tennis courts, and Andy Gray was adamant that Paul would come out. So Paul came out to train, drunk as a lord, and in metal-studded boots instead of rubbers or trainers. Well, he spent more time on his backside than he did stood up. And in the end, Andy lost his patience, told Jim to take him back to his room, lock him in his room, so he couldn't get out, so he couldn't go back drinking again. So Jim did exactly what he was asked. The only problem was Paul was a bit too savvy for that and shimmied down the drain pipe and was sat in the bar as we came back in from training. It was hilarious. Honestly, you could have died with laughter. It was so funny. As you walk into that reception, look right, look left. Oh, shoot, there's Paul at the bar. And of course, he had no money because they took the money off him. So what he did was he just put it on the club's bill. It was hilarious. Hilarious.
Nobody told Doug that one, did they?
But I mean, to be honest, but for Jim, probably Paul's career at Villa would have been over many years before it was. Jim just looked after him, just made sure come Saturday he was fit to play, or come midweek, which we didn't have many midweek games, he was always fit to play. And you only have to look at Paul's performances to see, the help Jim gave him to see how long it prolonged his career and at the level it did.
You played, I supported, and I will say this, Jim. I think it's not an exaggeration to say that when we bought him in '89, and he played for us for 7 years, I honestly do think, mate, that a lot of that was down to you. I
Without a doubt.
really, really do.
Yeah.
So you've got it there from the player and the fan. When we got him, I'll just come back from America in '89, and I've picked up the newspaper and we bought him, and I'm thinking, oh, that's a great 400,000 we've just spent. But how long are we going to keep him for?
Yeah.
And if somebody would have said to me 7 years from 1989, I would have said, my God, we've got a career out of him there. So did you find that not only with Paul but with other players as well, you weren't just this is what I got from writing Tealey's book, and when we got onto you, you wasn't so much the physio, but you were like a father figure to these players as well. Do you think that was a fair assessment, Jim, from your side?
Yeah, I'd like to look after them. I'd played football for 15 years and I understood what injuries were like. And, I realised that while being a footballer, you got injuries, you weren't happy. So I was as a physio, I was going to make sure I'd keep the lads as happy as I could, really.
Mm-hmm.
But when you were talking about Paul coming to Villa, I don't know if you know the story, but Graham Taylor called me into his office and I went down and he said, "Oh, sit down, Jim." And I sat down. He says, "Look, Paul McGrath has failed his medical at Tottenham and he's on his way here and I don't want him to fail his medical here." So I just said, "Fine, yeah." And he didn't fail his medical at Villa.
Did he actually have a medical?
Yeah.
Of sorts.
A little one, yeah. Same as you had one, mate. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that is a fantastic story.
I think the biggest compliment I can give to Jim, which would be from all the lads, is that Jim had everybody's respect. And I think that's key to how successful Jim was and the team was, because everybody trusted Jim. So whatever Jim said, the lads did. Nobody ever questioned what Jim said. Maybe Teale now and again, but that's because he'd spat his dummy out every now and again. But for the most part, we never, Jim had everybody's respect, and everybody listened to what Jim had to say.
Nice of you to say that.
Well, there's something else that backs that up as well. So Graham Taylor brought you in '87, and you left our club in 2004. And at that time, we'd have had about 6 or 7 managers that were there. And for you to, for these managers to want to keep you on, and it's a massive compliment to the way that you had the structure right at Villa Park.
Yeah.
So that is, was it arranged to leave Villa in 2000, and was it 2002 or something like that?
2004.
2004. Apologies.
I'd had a really good time at Villa, and with the different managers, and but football was changing in 2004, and all of a sudden teams were having 4 physios and all different kinds of throwing coach, free kick coach, corner coach, and it was time for me to leave them, mate.
Yeah, because if you look back at the in the dugout during your time, it was you and the 1 or 2 substitutes and the manager and whatever, and now if you look, it's a complete entourage of what's going on there. What was your time like with the Magic Man at Walsall?
Who's the Magic Man?
Paul Merson.
No, it was good. He was a fantastic footballer, and I think he found it difficult because he was trying to, Paul could do things in football. He was a top player, and he couldn't understand why the people he was coaching couldn't do the simple things that he could do, And I think that was a big thing for him, really.
Mm-hmm.
And it made it, made it a little bit more difficult for him. He couldn't understand why people couldn't pass the ball as he passed it, Yeah,
do you think that's a good, a viable reason as to why top footballers don't become top managers.
Yeah, can be. Yeah. But you can imagine, if you're good at something and you take a job and you see people playing and you wonder, well, why can't they pass the ball like I passed it, or things like that.
Yeah, yeah. And what happened after Walsall?
Um, I opened a clinic at the Belfry,
Okay.
sports injury clinic there, and for it was about just over a year, and then there was I had a major problem, and my wife died, and then I thought, well, I was 64, I think, at the time, and I thought, well, I've done enough work now. I'll knock off now.
Do you still watch football?
Of course I do. Yeah.
And which, apart from Aston Villa, which team do you favour?
Well, as a kid, my dad was from Glasgow, and he was a Rangers supporter. But obviously, at the time, it was difficult to get up and watch Rangers every week. So I became a Man City fan, and that was where my first proper football game was at Man City.
I'll tell you what I love, Jim, about. I mean, I speak to quite a lot of ex-Villa players and managers within what we do and whatever. And this is something that I really loved about Teale when I did his book, and I get the same thing with you. And I know that when I've asked John Gregory this question as well, I always say to him, why do you guys always class, Aston Villa as we? Because you weren't born in the area, you played for other clubs.
Yeah.
And you've come through, and you're from up north or down south or whatever. And each one that I've spoken to, and you've only got to look at Brian Little with his ambassadorial role that he does down there as well. It's all we still, and John Gregory always tells me that it's because you don't get to play or manage or the aristocrats of English football, which Aston Villa have been in the past. What would be your view on that? Why do you think that so many people have such an affinity for Aston Villa as opposed to, the other teams that they play for?
Yeah, I mean, it's just when you arrive at the club initially, then you realise how good it is, and you do your best for the club, really. Simple as that.
Yeah. So out of all the players that came through, whether it be the academy or through transfers or whatever, which player spent most time on the table? I mean, I know we know about Paul.
Yeah, Paul.
Yeah. We know about the struggles that he had. I don't really want to who were the players that were there that were quite injury prone?
I think most of them got on with playing football, really. But I had a way in as being the physio, when physios in the past where a player would be injured, he'd come in at 9 o'clock, have his treatment, and at 9:45 he'd go home. But I made sure that when players came in at 9 o'clock, that they had the treatment, and then we'd go in the gym for an hour and a half, come back, have our lunch, and then do it again in the afternoon. They weren't over happy to start with, but I think it worked well, really.
If I can just come in there, Rob, I just remind Jim of a couple who were particularly grateful to him. Dion Dublin, for when he had the broken neck, and also Gary Thompson, who they've both done tributes to Jim in the book. And Gary said that he saved my career, as simple as that. Yeah. And I think those two in particular would be, there are several others as well, but those two stand out as two who Jim really did look after.
Can I just quickly ask Jim a quick question?
Of course you can.
Jim, your time at Villa, and you played under with a few managers. Well, you served under a few managers. Do you have a favourite?
Good
question.
Yeah, good question. I'm sure they were all good, really. Graham Taylor was good. Joseph was ahead of his time, really. Joseph Venglos. Then Ron Atkinson came. He was good. He unusual. It was when he came. Initially, I didn't really speak to him much, and it was in the summer, and so it was 2 weeks had gone by, and he called me into his office, and he said to me that he didn't like physios. And Charles Hughes at the England, who was involved with England, and physios. And I just said to him, well, I think Charles Hughes is all right. So from that day, we seemed to get on quite well, me and Ron, yeah.
So you sort of got round that, and really.
Yeah. Yeah. What your question, or yeah?
I was just wondering whether you had a favourite out of all of them, but
no, I mean they were all good managers, mate. Yeah. All top class managers, yeah. Even the ones that I played with, obviously people like Brian Clough, and you move he like Alan Oakes at Chester. He played over 1,000 games, Alan, and what a player he was, at Chester. So I played under a lot of good managers. Yeah.
Just going on from Chris's question, what was the worst injury that you had to deal with, and was it at Villa?
Yeah, it was at Villa. Yeah. Well, Dion broke his neck, didn't he?
Yeah.
So I go onto the field, and he wants to carry on playing, and I said, "So we need to get you off and just have a look at you, and if you're okay, we will put you back on." And it wasn't safe for him to go back on. And what happened? I don't know if you remember at Villa, you had to walk up about 30 steps when you came off the field. Well, he couldn't get up there, so we had to go behind the goals and get into an ambulance there. And I, as soon as the game finished, it's near the end of the game against Sheffield Wednesday when he got the injury. As soon as the game finished, I went in, made sure everybody was okay, and then got a lift to the hospital to go and see Dion. And when I got in to see him, he was with his wife, and he said, "Jim, I've broke my neck. I'm going to have surgery." And the surgeon called me in, and he said, "If you want to stay and watch the surgery, you're more than welcome." So I stayed and watched the surgery, and Dion didn't know that till about 6 months ago. So yeah.
Did you ever get players? Do you ever get players faking it?
No, they couldn't, mate. Honestly, yeah. Shaun will tell you if it was hard work in the gym, wasn't it, mate, when you were injured?
Yeah, to be honest, you were better out on the training ground than you were in the gym. It was an easier stint being on the training ground than being in the gym. Trust me.
Why would you fake it anyway, Rob? I mean,
I'm just saying, you're just asking the question as to whether
faking. He wouldn't get away with it. They wouldn't get away with faking an injury unless it was a head injury, which you've obviously got to be extra careful with, really.
Yeah, we don't get him like Terry Butcher anymore, do we?
No,
with that blood down the England top, and of course you can add in Paul Ince on that one.
Yeah,
definitely. So, Shaun, what was training like then when you were injured? What was the regime that Jim had you under in those days?
Well, as I said, to be honest, I wasn't in there that much. I made sure I wasn't in there that much. And Jim will testify to this. It was so different in our day in the early 90s because you only had a small squad. If you got injured and lost your shirt, the chances were you could be out the team for weeks and weeks and weeks if the other player did really well. So you'd come in on a Monday morning, you could barely walk, and you'd just say, "Yeah, I'm okay." And you go out and train, and you get through the sessions. And then by the time the week had gone, the pain had gone anyway, and you were back playing. So, the sessions in the gym it was always on the bike, and then and it was quite a long ride on the bike. Then there'd be the rowing machine, then there'd be the weights, then there'd be the sort of jumping over things, under things, this, that, and the other. Oh, it was purgatory. I only ever had one physio that was worse than Jim for that, and that was the lad when I moved to Tranmere. The lad at Tranmere, Les was horrendous because you could have a pulled hamstring on the Saturday and he'd have you running on the Sunday, and it was like, "Why are we running? I've got a pulled hamstring." "No, you'll be all right." But he would run you till you dropped, and he was the only one. He was the only one that pushed you more than Jim did. To be fair. But hence, I was never injured that much anyway, so physios were never really part of my life, only every now and again. Jim will testify to this, we went to Mauritius, and I had, my arm went green on the way over there. I'd had an abscess, And they wanted to do the operation in Mauritius, and I refused. I said no, because I didn't know how clean Mauritius hospitals were. So, plus we're on holiday. I wanted to enjoy the holiday as well. So it was strapped up and just left like that. I played against Everton with it. My arm was literally going green. As soon as we got back into the UK, it was off to Little Aston, and I had it all dug out and everything. It wasn't the nicest. But that didn't stop me training. So the only thing that really stopped me training, and Jim will probably remember this, is I had a double hernia. And I sort of played with it for the best part of 6 months because Ron just didn't want me to have the operation. He wanted me to keep playing until I couldn't play anymore. And he said, come on, we'll get through to the summer and then you can have your operation. And that's how it went, really. Jim sort of nursed me through in a sense. So I'd sort of ease off during the week. I maybe wouldn't do as much training in the week so I could play on the Saturday, because once I played on the Saturday, I was like Darth Vader for 2 days. I couldn't move. So, but Jim was good like that. Jim knew when people needed just to take it a little bit easier because they were needed on the Saturday.
So Les at Tranmere, did you have the same respect for that guy as you did for the likes?
Yeah. Les Parry was brilliant. He was such a nice fella, such a funny fella. But if you got injured, you got completely beasted. It was 10 times worse than going out training. And he ran all the pre-seasons, which involved doing sandhill runs and things like that. So at least everybody would have spewed at once in pre-season, and he'd have made sure you did, just to teach you a lesson.
We've got Rob Bishop back now.
Sorry about that. He just locked
that's
up
and
I couldn't get back in.
No, that's quite all right. Rob, are you going to be doing any more?
No.
Do you mind if I just take a pinch of salt with the chips on in a bit?
I've actually turned down one since I started on gyms from a quite high profile player. I won't name him because he's still thinking about whether to do it or not. But that's how serious I am, that no, gyms is the last for me.
Yeah. And what a lovely way to bow out on that.
Well, yes. Yeah, and to think that we've done it for these charities is, it's great.
Yeah, it is wonderful. So just to recap, I don't need to ask you this because obviously I know it. To get Jim's book, Walker's Way, if you go to Curtis-Sport, and that is without the S on the end of sports there, you'll be able to come up with the link and then and then get the booking from there. An absolutely fascinating show tonight, and it's been a different angle for us as well, Jim. So thank you very much for taking time out to join myself and Teale on the show.
No, thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
And of course, Rob.
Cheers. That's been great, Rob. Thank you.
And Jim
Sean,
Jr.
great to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you, Rob.
And you, Chris.
Jim Jr. as well for putting all this together. That's very much appreciated. It is Christmas, so everybody have a great Christmas and New Year.
Cheers.
We are going to be back on the 8th of January to start proceedings for 2026, and hopefully we are speaking about wins against the likes of Arsenal, Chelsea, Man United. I think Crystal Palace are there, Nottingham Forest. So we've got the games are coming thick and fast. So Shaun, what are you doing for Christmas?
Not a lot, because Carol's going into hospital on Monday for an operation, so she's going to be out of the game for quite a while. Okay. I'll tell you a bit more about that off there.
Okay, not a problem.
I don't think she'd like me going into that quite now.
No. And don't forget, we're supposed to be meeting up in Liverpool on this.
We are. That might have to be put back.
Yeah, not a problem.
Give her my best, Shaun.
I will, Rob. I'll see you, Rob, on Sunday. No doubt.
Yep. Look
Jim,
forward to it.
You're looking really well, as I said to you the other week when I met you again.
That's nice. Nice to see you, mate.
And apart from that, I'm bar humbug anyway. I hate Christmas, so I don't care.
I do as well, sure.
If I could get away without putting a tree and lights up, I'd get away with it, but I can't get away with it.
Quite right too.
Well, I'm at a stage where I've got children who can do it for me now.
Well, that's it. Even better, and that's what we all strive for.
I've got children who could do it for me, but they don't.
All right.
Right, as always, a big thank you to our sponsors, Bowden and Dolphin Signs and Luke 77. This show goes out on Monday, so it's the day after we hopefully beat Manchester United. Again, we'll do our next recording on the 8th of January. Have a great Christmas, guys. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Thanks a lot.
Merry Christmas.
Thank
Cheers.
you.
Bye, mate. Bye, Shaun.
See you, Jim.
Bye,
See
mate.
you, Rob.
Yeah.
See you Sunday.
Take care.
Up to
Cheers.
Villa.
Yeah.
Up to Villa.
Up to Villa.